All right, welcome this morning. So we're going to take and create our cut lines from all these materials in the back, this flattened ones here. So first thing I'm going to do is just going to hide the assembled one. I don't care about it. And what I want to do is I want to create a construction plane that I can do a sketch on, but I want to do it just below the surface. Before I do that, I'm just going to check to make sure that all of these, yeah, so they're all lined up really nice. You see how they're all one flat line in the front? Now I do notice here that I've got two parts at least that are 2 layers thick. So I'm going to do 2 different construction planes. I'll show you what that looks like in just a second. So first I'm going to do is I'm going to click construction plane, an offset plane. I'm going to click on the face of one of them, and I'm going to put the plane just inside the layer. So I'm going to do a -0.1, and you can see when I go here that this yellow construction plane is just inside that first layer. So I'm going to click OK. And now what I'm going to do is, because it's inside that first layer, I'm going to actually do an intersection. So I'm going to come over here and create, so first I'm going to do a sketch, sorry. I'm going to put that sketch on the construction plane. And now I'm going to go here and do the create and a intersect. So this is going to draw an edge around wherever the body intersects. So if I go here, notice that it doesn't show up anything is being drawn, and that's because I have selection filter on. So what selection filter does, it says just grab the face, and the face right now is above the plane, so it's not going to be drawn. But if I click over to body, now it's going to draw a slice, an outline of wherever that body passes through the sketch. So right there is one. That's going to draw one red. So all that red means is just showing you what it's going to draw. And all of these have a red one. So they're all at least 1 layer thick, which makes sense because they should be. So I've got them all on there now. I'm going to just click OK. It's done the drawing. I can hide the flattened objects, and I can see the drawing that's done is right there. Now before I go to save this, I need one more piece of information. I need a dimension, because when I take this into Inkscape next, it's going to come in some random size, and I'm going to have to size it back down to its actual size. So I'm going to come here and do inspect. I'm going to click on this top tool, or this top line, the bottom line. You want the highest and lowest point in your drawing. That's why I said don't let any of these pieces be higher than the top, because this gives us a really clean one to use. And this is, of course, right at 24, which is what we defined it as when we made it. So I'm going to write that number down real quick so I have it for later. And then I'm going to click here to finish sketch. Now I'm going to go to my sketches. I'm going to find this last sketch here. I'm going to rename it. That way I can find it later. I'm going to call mine layer 1. And then next to it, I'm going to put the length, 24. Now I want to put a decimal so I know that it's that the decimal was 0 and I just forget some numbers. But I don't like using periods in these names because it's going to be a file name later, and a file name periods sometimes mess things up. So I use a comma as a period. So I would read this as 24.0000, even though it says comma there. That's decimal point when I do this kind of stuff. So there, it's not 24,000, but it's 24.000 centimeters. Awesome. So now I need to do is, there was some 2 layer objects, so I need to do the second layer now. So I'm going to hide this layer, turn my flattened stuff back on. I'm going to create a new construction plane on that face again, an offset plane. This time I want to sink it a thickness to get down to that second layer, and then a little bit more. So I'm going to say, let me hit here real quick. I'm going to say here that I want to go negative, nope. Click on it first. Negative thickness. So that gets me to the top of the next plane, or the next layer. And I'm going to go a little bit farther down inside that layer, -0.1. Enter. And now you can see when I look at the top, that now I'm just outside the first layer and just inside the second layer. So that's how I'm going to do the second layer. Now, of course, that we've done that, I'm going to do a sketch on that construction plane. And now that we've done it, when we do the intersect tool, some of these won't intersect, which is fine because they're only 1 layer. That one doesn't, that one doesn't, that one doesn't, that one does. I see the red outline. This one does. I see the red outline. And notice now it's cutting all the little red holes in there now that weren't there before. This one doesn't, and these two don't. So these are all one layer ones. So my sketch is going to be made of just these two things. So I'm going to say okay. And then I'm going to hide the flattened stuff. That's my sketch. And this is still the same 24, so I'm good with that. And now I just need to do finish sketch. I'm going to come down here and I'm going to call this layer 2. And it is also 24, 1, 2, 3, 24.000. All right, so those are my two sketches. I don't need to see them. But what I need to do now is export these as what's called a DXF file. That's the kind of file that the next program we're going to use, Inkscape, can use. So I'm going to right click on this and I'm going to say save as DXF. I'm going to go to my sanitizer bottle holder folder. I have these DXF. Oh, I already have some in there. Interesting. All right, I'm going to do, I already have a couple layers in there. I don't want to get rid of those layers, but I can, they're different names anyway. So layer 1, 24, 1, 2, 3. And this is where using a period might cause problems because it's going to have like, it's going to think what's next is a file name. So I don't like using them here. And then I'm going to hit save. I'm going to right click on layer 2. I'm going to save as DXF. And I'm going to call this one layer 2, but 24. And save. And then, yeah, so now I'm ready. So Fusion is all done. I'm going to return this file back. So I'm going to hide these two. And I'm going to turn on the assembled and the flattened. And then I'm going to center on those two. And then I'm going to save it. And the reason I do that is because this little icon over here that it saves as a picture is based on whatever your last view was. So if it was all zoomed in on one thing, it would be hard to tell what it was later. So that's done. So I'm going to close this out. And then I'm going to open up Inkscape. Sometimes take a second or two to open. Maybe I didn't do it. Now I'll probably get two of them actually, because I was impatient. All right, first thing I want to do is I'm going to actually make this the size of the bed for the laser cutter. And that is 30 by 60. So I'm going to go File, Document Properties. Here in the middle here, the width is 60 centimeters, but right now it's in millimeters. So I'm going to convert that to centimeters first. Then I'm going to say 60, tab, 30, and then enter. And now that's the size of the cutting bed. I got to keep all my parts inside that and inside that by a good little amount. So I don't want to put it right on the black edge of that because the plywood doesn't have a nice edge. It's not always exactly the right size. All that stuff is going on. And then let's see, what else? Oh, then snaps. So I'm going to switch my snaps from big numbers to small numbers. What a snap is when two objects get close to each other, a snap will force their corners to snap together. And if you have that set to 20, things start snapping from really far away and it gets hard to move anything around. So I put those snaps down nice and low. And good, I'm going to hit close. Now what I need to do is bring my DXF drawings in here. So I'm going to go File, Import, and I'm going to import, I think it's the right place actually. Yep, sanitizer bottle. So I'm going to find my files and I'm going to import the 24 ones. And I'm going to say OK. Now this whole height here is 30 centimeters and you can see that this is much, much bigger. So it just comes in this weird way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to constrain the two dimensions. That way when one shrinks, the other shrinks proportionately. And then come over here and change this to centimeters. If I leave this unlocked and I shrink the top, the sides won't come in. It'll just smoosh the picture. And it'll just be all spread and weird looking. So I'm going to close that down, and now I'm going to hit this, and I'm going to put that 24 we measured in there because that's the height that I want it to be. And now this is the correct height. So I need to now make these cut lines. And in our program, cut lines are red. So I'm going to come over here to fill and stroke. If you need to find it, it is, where is it? Objects. Yep, it's under Object Menu, Fill and Stroke. That will open up a menu over here that'll be on here now. And I'm going to change this. The stroke is the line going around it. The fill is the color filling the inside. So I want no fill. So I'm going to go ahead and click the no fill. And stroke paint, I want stroke paint to be 255-00-100. That's what cuts on our laser. So our laser looks for any lines that are 255 red, 0 green, and 0 blue, and it cuts those lines. And then just to make it a little more visible, this isn't necessary. I like to put the 0.4. That way I can see my parts a little better. But the thickness of the line doesn't matter. The laser cuts one cut right down the middle of the red line. So that is number 1. I'm going to go get layer number 2 now and do the exact same thing to it. So File, Import, Layer 2, OK. I'm going to switch the height to 24 again. I'm going to change the stroke paint to 255. Yep, 255. Stroke style, 0.4. And there it is. So those are all my parts. Now what I need to do is break them apart so I can organize them onto my sheet. Although maybe this one will. Now I'll break it apart. So to break it apart, I'm going to hold down the Control key, the Shift key, and then press G until down here at the bottom, it'll say no more things to ungroup. Control G, G, G. No groups to ungroup in the selection. So at that point, I'm done ungrouping. Now I need to come over here and watch what happens. Because these little squares in here are disconnected from the outside. If I grab this and move it, I leave the little holes behind. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to Control Z to undo that. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to highlight, I'm going to surround all of that, and I'm going to do Control G without the shift. So Control G groups things, Control Shift G ungroups things. Pretty easy to do. And so this one's the same way. I've got to group all these little squares on the inside with the outside one. So I'm going to highlight all of those and do a Control G. Now these two are two independent groups that are together, right? So I can just kind of situate them on the board. And this one is the second layer. So I'm going to push this off to the side. I'm not going to write on this layer when I do any signage because this is the second layer in. So I'm going to put the one that's the first layer right here for that. So here again, Control Shift G. I'm going to keep doing that until it says no groups down here. And some of these are already rocking and rolling. They're ready to move. They don't have any holes in them at all. And then I think the rest of them need to be, nope, this one can get moved. No holes in that one. And then this one. So I'm going to highlight that one. Whoops. I'm going to highlight that one. Control G. Move it out of the way. Next one. Control G. Move it out of the way. So if you move them right away, you'll see if you've made any mistakes because you'll leave like a little square behind or something, or you'll take an extra square with you. That's the other possibility. That was not right. So if you do something like that and move something you don't want to move, Control Z undoes it. Awesome. And then let's see, did I get it? Oh, I got that one already. And then this one, Control G. And then finally that one, Control G. So now I'm just going to start organizing them on here. So this one's going to go top left here. Like I said, I want to be a little bit away from that black line at the top because my plywood is not going to be the perfect shape. Okay, now I got to start thinking about grain patterns. So on the plywood, the grain runs from left to right. So if I do it this way, I'll have grain going left to right across the face of this, which will look kind of cool, I think. So maybe I leave that like that. Actually, you know what? I want to actually make it go right and left. I want to do it this way. I want the whoops. I want the grain to go vertically down the face of the dispenser. So the grain to run straight down. So I'm going to put it in this way so it's running parallel to it. And then the face, where the bottle's going to be, I want the grain running sort of towards me on that. So this one needs to turn as well. So I'm just thinking about grain patterns and what I want it to look like. Which means I'm going to go ahead and turn this one as well, because it doesn't matter because it's the second layer down, so you'll never see it. But might as well be consistent. No harm in that. And then these are all the inside pieces, and I want the grain again running. So maybe all of these pieces as well. I want them twisted. So I'm going to go ahead and twist them all and then just start lining them up. And this is where not having this snap set to 20 is really helpful. Otherwise, all these pieces would be just snapping together all the time and driving me nuts. So I'm going to put this one down here and this one here. Now I'm just trying to find spots for them. Again, these two pieces, I want to twist them like so. Maybe I can get the next one next to it. And there. Yeah, perfect. And then this piece again is the side piece. This is the bottom, this is the top. So I want to rotate it so that the grain goes down it. Awesome. So I'm going to have plenty of space to get all this on one. This is the bottom one. And again, I want the grain to kind of come out towards me. So this one actually is all going to, they're going to be rotated. I think I might rotate almost everything this time. And this one needs to be rotated as well. Okay. Awesome. Not going to fit there. Well, maybe it will fit there. So what I'm going to do is move these around just a little bit to try and squeeze that one in next to it. There's no reason to waste a big chunk of plywood if we don't have to. Yeah, look at that. Perfect. All right, so that is the way it's going to look. This is the front face, and then these are the two front ones, but they're backwards right now. So actually I'm going to move them this way, so they look like they're supposed to. So if I imagine this is the left-hand side here, because the joint is on the outside, so that's the left-hand side. This is the right-hand side. So I'm going to add some decoration to this now. And this is the face. This is the first layer that I did. So what I'm going to do is take this piece. I'm going to actually unrotate it real quick, just so I can write stuff on it without having to do it like with my head tipped sideways and looking all funny and weird. And I'm just going to write KHS on this one. So I'm going to do KHS, and I definitely don't want whatever font that is. That's super weird. I'm going to choose something really simple like Arial. And then I'm going to increase the point font to something like 72. Let's try, I don't know, 85. See what that looks like. That looks pretty decent. You know, I just noticed something. We did not cut holes in here. We were supposed to cut holes in this one, and that one. So that is interesting and problematic. We need to figure out how to put a hole in there at this point, which we can do with just a red circle, but shoot. Okay, so alignment. I'm going to go to the align tool, and I'm going to grab this one and this one, and I'm going to align them. Perfect. And what this does, it lines up the centers on top, centers both things. So there's that. And I pushed it high because the pump of the bottle is going to be sticking up in here somewhere. So I want to keep this KHS kind of towards the top. So that one's done. So I'm just going to group that together real quick. Control G. Rotate it back down sideways. And I think that's all I'm going to put on that face. And then next thing I'm going to do is I want these two. So I'm going to take this one and this one. I'm going to move them up here. And you could have done this decorating prior to moving everything into place. I kind of like to do it this way. I'm going to set it up so that the joints are on the outside. So I know this is the left and this is right. I think what might be fun is to have a go bucks here. So I'm going to choose my tool again here, my text tool. I'm going to say a G. And again, I don't know why it keeps doing that stupid black adder nonsense. And here's something weird about this. Like sometimes when I try and choose something, I can't. I got to choose something random and then choose the thing I really want. So when I first chose Arial, nothing happened. But then when I chose something other, it switched that I choose Arial afterwards. I don't understand why at all. I'm going to just put that right there. I'm going to do Control C and V to make another letter. These letters I want stacked above and below each other, so I'm actually going to just make them all separate. I'm just going to write out Go Bucks. And to be able to do it, you can click on it a bunch to get back into edit the letter, and I'm going to say Go there, and then I'm just going to do a Control V, B-U-C-S. And now I'm just going to spell that out real quick. So this one should be a capital B, a lowercase u, a lowercase c, and a lowercase s. Awesome. That's super fun. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to highlight just those two, and I'm going to center them vertically, right? Just like that. And then I'm going to Control G and group them. And that looks pretty good. It looks like a go to me. And then I'm going to highlight all of these. So the inside ones and this one. And I'm going to center all of those together. Awesome. Now that's centered right on that face. I'm going to do the same thing with the bucks, except I'm going to need to space them a little differently this time. So I'm going to click on this one. Actually, let me put them roughly where I want them. So B-U-C-S. I'm pretty happy with that. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to highlight just the letters, so the B-U-C-S, and I'm going to do a distribution tool. So I want the space between all of them to be the same instead of a little bit different like it is. So I'm going to choose this one, which is a distribute command. It says make all the spaces between exactly the same. And you can see it just spaced them out. I'm going to then click center to center those. And now that looks like that I want. So I'm going to go Control G for group. And then I'm going to hold down the shift key and select the red as well. Now I've got the red and the bucks selected. So I'm going to hit the center sign. And now I'm just going to, you know what, I'm going to highlight both of those and center them vertically as well. So I'm going to center it there. So now you can see now the bucks is right in the middle. And I'm going to Control G that. So that one's done and grouped. Now what I want to do is I want to get the go to be even with the top of the bucks. So let's see how to do this. So what I want to do is I want to take this one and this one, highlight just the red here and the red here, and I'm gonna line their top parts. So just like that. So I just drug this one up to that one. And notice the one you click first is the one that moves. So now what I'm going to do is I actually want to Control-Shift-G, ungroup this one. And I'm going to click on the go and then the bucks, because I want the go to be the one that moves. And I'm going to align their tops. And I'm going to watch as I do it. Yep, and the go moved. So now it's all good. So now I'm going to here and here. And then I'm going to take these two and flip them again. And I'm just going to put them, whoops, one at a time, put them back. Now I've got it fully decorated. This is ready for the laser. So I'm going to hit File, Save. It's going to ask me what I want to save it as. And I'm not in the right place. Sanitizer bottle holder. And I like to make a folder called cut lines that I'm going to put all my cuts into. And then I'm going to say sanitizer. And I've already done this once, so folder final. Or let me do revise. Because my first was a prototype and it was okay, but this is a much nicer way of doing it. 1 of 1. And I always put the pages, how many pages I think I'm going to have. And When I start out, I have to look at all the parts and go, okay, I'll probably get that on 4 or 5 pages. That way I know what's what and how many to go for. So sanitizer holder revised, page 1 of 1, save. So now I know when I look at it, there's only just that one page. There's not 3 pages I can't find. Okay, so now it's off to the laser.